the heirloom we couldn't bring out. In my family, there are three treasures that we call heirlooms. I don't know if they have value to anyone but us. The first is our family tree. Our family tree goes back over 400 years, written over several scrolls and kept in Paulownia boxes. These Kand is a katana. A long time ago, one of our ancestors received it as a gift from his lord. The last stone is a mirror. It's not so much a mirror as it is an antique polished piece of metal. It's like something you'd see in a Japanese history book and fits in the palm of your hand. This also sits in a very fine Paulownia box. There is a particular way these three items must be handled. Only the family patriarch of that particular generation may remove the family tree from its box. The sword could be sold for a considerable amount of money, but it must never be sold. The family head must also clean and maintain the sword once a month. The mirror must remain enshrined in the family altar, and every day it must be checked to see it is safe. It must never be taken off the family lands. No event the family head may remove it from its box. The rules are something like that. This story is about that bronze mirror, if it's really true. The bronze mirror has a strange shape. A round mirror part sits on a hexagonal pedestal. Even if you look into this mirror, perhaps due to the rust or small scratches on it, it appears to have lost the ability to really reflect anything. However, at 2 centimeters thick, it's rather heavy and feels kind of magical. When I was in elementary school, my friends and I had a rare item you're proud of competition where we went to the park after school and showed off our treasures. Everyone brought toys, but I took along the family mirror. I told everyone not to touch it, but of course, they didn't listen to me. In the end, it was decided that I had the item most like an actual treasure, so I won. I triumphantly marched home. What was waiting for me at home was exactly what you would expect, a thorough scolding from my father. There was nothing wrong with the mirror, but my father persistently questioned me, harshly telling me off and making me promise never to touch it again. In my eyes, it wasn't like I broke it or anything, so I couldn't understand why I was getting such treatment. However, in the end, I apologized, and that was the end of it. My father forgave me. After that, I wasn't especially interested in it, so I didn't touch it again. Then last year I turned 20, and my father summoned me. I'd entered university and was living away from home. Wondering why I'd been called, I went back. My father asked me to sit in the room with the family altar and began to speak. To sum up, he told me about the family heirlooms and how to handle them. Our genealogy had roots in Onmyodo, and the family heirlooms came to us because of our dealing with cursed items. Most items had been donated as gifts to museums, and thus few were left. It was here that my father stopped to take a breather. I was a little fed up that he'd called me for such a boring story, and thinking that he'd finally finished, he started again. Now let's get to the important part. Oh, come on. Drowsiness was taking over me, but I couldn't do anything but sit and listen to him seriously. My father took the mirror out of the altar, put it on the table, and began talking again. The contents of the conversation were unbelievably separated from reality. I'll sum it up. So the reason why this bronze mirror couldn't be taken out. In history, it had been taken out 3 times, and all 3 people met disastrous ends. So why couldn't we take it out of the box? Because the mirror is a mirror that shows a person's death. Until recently, the taboo about the mirror had been thought to be superstition, but due to events 30 years earlier, it was now strongly protected. 30 years earlier, my grandmother died 30 years ago. I'd heard it was an accident, but I was never told the details. Apparently, if someone tried to remove the mirror from this plot of land, they would meet with disaster. It was passed down that the 3 people who had tried to remove it had all met horrible fates and died. The first time it was taken out by a subordinate of Ishida Kazushige during the Sengoku era. However, after the Battle of Sekigahara and Ishida's death, it was returned. The second time was during the Second World War. Military police forcibly came to take the mirror away for metal collections, and my grandfather watched them get cut down by American machine gun fire. The third person was my grandmother. This mirror was also a possession of hers. While she was alive, my grandmother treated stories of the mirror's curse as superstition and even took it out to show guests when they came to visit. It was a curious antique mirror that didn't reflect anything. My grandmother came to Osaka during Obon, and when she was about to leave, She bowed to the family's 3 heirlooms. When she touched the mirror, she accidentally saw her own face reflected in it. She went pale and apparently compared her face over and over with the bronze mirror and the bathroom mirror. Then she said, "My face in this family heirloom is pitch black." My father told her it was all in her imagination, but she had apparently seen something terrifying and couldn't stop panicking. She asked if she could take the mirror to the family temple in Kyoto and have it purified. It would be against the family rules, but if it would make her feel better, my father agreed to it. But he said he came to regret it. Why? Because of that, the bronze mirror was able to manifest its largest ever curse. On the 18th December, 1985 at 6:04 p.m., an airplane from Hanada to Osaka took off. The mirror was on board. Translators note, the flight referenced at the end is Japan Airlines Flight 123, the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. All 15 crew members and 505 of 509 passengers on board died.